Hi guys! A lot of you have been asking us how we are doing considering the situation in Ukraine and
living next to it here in Central Europe.
yeah, that.
So here is the update. If you haven't watched our first video about the beginning of war in Ukraine, go watch it. And we're gonna give you an update now, how things are. I was very anxious when there were news about Putin threatening with nuclear weapons. That was very strange and terrifying.
And we were hoping he wasn't crazy enough, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. So of course, on YouTube, on my homepage, there were videos popping up about World War III and how to survive a nuclear attack, how to survive nuclear winter and things like that. So I'm now an expert on that topic.
That made you sleep really well, right?
Really well. The outlooks are not nice. So that was interesting. And then one morning there were news that the Russians attacked a nuclear power plant in Ukraine, and
The biggest one in Europe.
yeah, it's the biggest one in Europe. So I was scrolling the news, and that was like during the night, and luckily as I scrolled down into the morning, the news said that it's okay, or what was it?
We slept through the worst.
Yeah, through the worst, because there were bombs exploding or something, but then in the morning it was like the situation is somewhat okay. There is no radiation or anything.
Yeah.
The highest nuclear expert in our country was in shock. She was telling that everything she believed in crumbled because you don't attack nuclear plants even in war.
Right.
So that was very strange and new.
And a few days before that, they attacked Chernobyl as well.
Yeah, and they are there until now.
And that doesn't even make any sense to me. Like, it's not working. It doesn't distribute any power, so why would they do that?
Yeah, so there were questions, of course, if they would somehow damage the concrete shield around it, that like it's against the radiation.
And we live quite far enough to escape the radiation, I guess. They said that we wouldn't be too affected, but obviously it would be a catastrophe for Europe in general.
And of course, there was this weather situation over Europe that the wind was blowing from northeast, from Chernobyl area and from Ukraine onto us, and it was a very persistent situation. It lasted for days and days. And at work, I was like, when I was changing shifts with my colleagues, like, oh my god, did you see? The wind is blowing from that direction constantly, so we have to pray that nothing happens. Yeah, so it wasn't the best feeling. I wanted to say that people are very unified in our country, and there were big protests against the war, and there was even Ukrainian anthem playing in our parliament for the first time ever. An anthem of another country was playing in our parliament. So there are 7 parties in the parliament, different ones, and all of them are against the attack.
Yeah, that was quite surprising that even the opposition supported our government.
Yeah, even our president, which was very pro-Russia
And pro-China.
and pro-China before the war, now he said that he was mistaken and that Putin is totally crazy and he has to be stopped.
And even our prime minister traveled to Kyiv together with the Polish prime minister and Slovenian prime minister, and they visited Zelensky to show him the support of our countries.
Yeah, in person in the war zone of Kiev, so that was interesting. They traveled by train. So yeah, they showed support. There are of course millions of refugees fleeing Ukraine, and in our country there are nearly 300,000. That's quite a lot because our country has a population of 10 million.
Yeah. For our small country, it's quite a lot. There have been many more in Poland, like 2 million just in one country. So here, 300,000 doesn't sound like much, but they said that it's near the full capacity that we can take care of without other countries' help.
Yes. When we were in the city in Brno, we could hear a lot of Ukrainian spoken, and there are Ukrainians in the stores, of course. You can see a lot of cars with Ukrainian license plates and stuff like that.
So you can see it's real, that they are really here, everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, that they are really here and it's happening, and yeah, it's not just something on the news, but it's here.
But they're not just in Brno, they are in every even smaller town, because people try to find places for them everywhere, and they often stay in hotels and other kinds of accommodations, and then they receive some subsidy from the government as a compensation for letting them stay there.
Yeah. The government is trying to take care of them in other ways as well. They immediately get their visas and work permits, so they can work immediately. The children go to school normally, like there are classes being created for them.
Yeah, and they already started learning Czech there as well, so they are integrating immediately.
Yeah, but they are also looking for Ukrainian teachers, and it's very interesting that, like, it must be so weird for them to start like a normal life immediately, because I would be like shaken after such an experience. But of course you don't have money and you don't have anything. It's so weird.
Actually, it can help our country even, because we have the lowest unemployment rate in Europe, or at least in the European Union, and there's lack of people in many professions. So, you know, these refugees immediately got tens of thousands of positions offered to them, and many of them started working already. So
yeah, there is also other support for them. They can use public transport for free. There were trains going to take them from the Polish borders or Slovakian borders to bring them here. They can open a bank account with a bonus, and there is also a government support, like they got money to start somehow.
it sounds like they are taken care of.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering if the war has any practical effects on us, on our lives, then yes.
Yeah, the petrol prices went up, of course. I have calculations here, because in the US you don't have liters and stuff like that, normal measurements. So I have price per gallon here. So at the peak, a few days ago, it was $8.50 per gallon. And before the war started, the price was $5.90. So still more expensive than it is in the US. So this is not a mistake. The petrol is expensive here. But now, during the war, it's even more expensive.
It started going back down a little bit recently, but not by much.
Not by much.
Also, the price of natural gas is going up, or went up a lot recently, and we use it for heating in our condo as well as at our country home. And our contract expires in the summer sometime.
Yeah, here at the country house. So that's quite interesting, because I was writing an email to the company before the war, like, how are our prices? Is there maybe some better plan? And the operator was like, no, you have a very good one and you are fixed for 3 years. which we didn't know.
Mhm.
It's interesting because the contract like we got from the previous owners or something like that. So fixed for 3 years and it will expire this summer. So prepare yourselves, it will get much more expensive.
We felt like it was already very expensive before because we are not used to heating up a house. It's very different from heating up condo.
Yeah.
So now we have to get used to even higher prices.
Yeah, so that will be interesting.
But even though a lot of people will be affected by higher prices, they still want to cut the ties with Russia and not buy their natural gas anymore.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting because usually people think more about their money.
Yeah, usually people complain when something is getting more expensive, but not so much now because the majority of the natural gas comes from Russia to Europe. So people don't want that anymore. Some of you were asking if people were hoarding some stuff from stores like toilet paper and stuff like that, if there were any shortages in the supply. So no, we haven't noticed anything.
We haven't noticed any shortage of anything. We just buy whatever we need and
Yeah,
it's always available. Everything is.
yeah, there weren't any empty shelves, so that's okay. I was reading that people are a bit afraid in eastern Slovakia because Slovakia borders with Ukraine and there is an airport in the town of Užhorod. I don't know how to pronounce that. So there is an airport right at the border, like just a few meters from there, and you know, Russia is sending missiles and rockets from far away, even to western Ukraine, trying to destroy, I don't know, some military bases and infrastructure.
Yeah.
So that must be quite worrisome if there were to bomb that airport and there is a village, Slovakian village, right at the border. So yeah, not great feelings.
It must be quite stressful if you live there.
Yeah. And actually, that part of Ukraine, there is a mountain range continuing from Slovakia further southeast.
Carpathia?
Yeah, Carpathian Mountains. And that part of Ukraine, behind the mountains, that was part of Czechoslovakia between World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting that that area was a part of our country.
But not anymore because after World War II, Russia took that part and they made it part of USSR under Ukraine. So now it's part of Ukraine.
Yeah. So we are not as anxious as we were at the beginning of the war.
It's been ongoing for what, 3 weeks now?
Even more, it was on 24th of February.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so almost a month now. Because we were very worried or uncertain what Russia was going to do, if they are going to attack only Ukraine or other countries as well. But now it seems that they won't attack any NATO countries.
Because they are losing against Ukraine.
Yeah, so it looks okay for us, I guess, for the whole Europe. But of course, in Ukraine, it's so terrible and so sad. You read about how they are bombarding schools and hospitals, and many civilians are suffering. It's so bad. And I don't know, that's the update for now. We don't know what's going to happen.
If the situation changes, we will let you know again. But I guess that's it for today.
Yeah, so see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.